All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Y Nada Más a Real Madrid podcast, and I am your host, Eric Rivera. This is the first time that I'm actually doing a live stream. So as of now, I'm just waiting for people to jump on, if they jump on. But either way, I'm going to record it. Either way, it's going to go up directly to our Twitch channel, directly to our YouTube channel. It's going to, once I'm done with the stream right now, obviously I'm going to take the audio from the stream and then I'm going to take it and upload it as a podcast. So either way, if you subscribe to the podcast, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, I guess if you subscribe to Twitch and everything, you guys will see it there. So anyway, thank you for joining me for this first edition of the podcast. I'm really happy to obviously, do this finally. The reason it took us so long was because basically, as I've been saying for a while now, I'm using a lot of times my work computer, my work laptop, essentially to stream and it's not even to record the podcast a lot of times. Sometimes we have some stuff in the studio, we connect it, and that's pretty much it. But nothing, it wasn't a big deal, and I wanted to really upscale it. We wanted to do it, so we all chipped in, bought a bunch of different gadgets, new camera, the switcher, new computer, everything that you need to actually make a legitimate stream, or hopefully, I hope this is a legitimate stream, and essentially, do the podcast correctly. So that is what I'm doing. That is what I want to bring to all of you, and I want to continue doing it. So if you're listening right now, obviously to the podcast, it's obviously been it's right now Saturday, November 26th. Today is the day that we're in the middle of the World Cup. So Argentina defeated Mexico. Let's see, that was the last game of the day, but then we also had Poland defeating who did they defeat? They defeated Saudi Arabia. And then earlier in the day, there were some other games. They're just not, I don't have them in the back of my mind right now. But anyway, so, we're in the middle of the World Cup. So essentially, it's been about a month or a little over a month since the last time that I did a podcast. And, the last time I believe was an Elche game or something like that. It was from one of the Real Madrid games when we were still in the season. Obviously, we're in second place. We faltered there at the end. We've lost, unfortunately. We lost Benzema for a variety of games. There was a lot of shit going around, which I didn't. I really, as a Madridista, did not like. Which was seeing, so many people crapping on Karim Benzema, thinking that he was doing things on purpose, thinking that he was really, milking his injury essentially because he wanted to be fit for the World Cup. We obviously know now that that is not true because he's not in the World Cup anymore. He was injured. He flew back to Valdebebas and is actually supposedly working with Madrid now, with the Madrid doctors in order to get fit for the rest of the season. I really think for Madridistas are a strange bunch. There is a lot of Madridistas that obviously are very loyal, and then there's Madridistas that say they're loyal, but then essentially I think they crap on everybody that plays for this team if they're having a good day, if they're having a bad day, and then they love them if they have a good day. But there's no loyalty. There's no respect for these, for some of these players that do so much for the team. And it's kind of like, what is it? It's kind of like, yeah, when we get a good player, it's a great thing. He's a new toy. If he does great, awesome. We love him to death. And then if he does badly, we don't give him a chance. I include myself in that because I was one of the guys who didn't give Vinicius a chance, but I thought he was, never going to live up to his potential, and obviously I was wrong. But I never if you've listened to my podcast, I've never liked bad-mouthing players. I don't think that's ever been something that I've been known for. I really don't like doing it at all. I really don't like the fact that I look so yellow in this thing. Why do I look so yellow? I look like I'm really sick. Anyway, I was sick, actually. I did have COVID again, that's like the second or third time I have it. I think second proven time, essentially, that I tested for it. My whole family got it. We're all vaccinated, but obviously I think the vaccine does do its thing because, we didn't really feel that bad at all for about a couple of days. I'm still a bit stuffed up, but that's really all I felt, and my father, my mother, everybody, had it. And, and my kids, my wife, my mother-in-law, a lot of people, everyone had it. So essentially that was an interesting thing, but even a second time, like I said, I think second time that I actually tested myself and knew that I had COVID. But then, there was other times that there was another time I got really, really sick and I didn't test myself and I think it was COVID. So I've had it like 3 times. I'm thinking. Anyway, so that was another reason I wasn't really recording, because I didn't want to get the rest of the team sick, have them come to the studio. And then, it's an enclosed space, as you can see here. So that wouldn't be good, But anyway, back to the show. So what was I talking about? Whatever. We're in the World Cup. And like I was saying, so a lot of Madridistas talk trash about players. I really think there's, like I said, there's not a lot of loyalty. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. I don't know. It really depends on the Madridista. It depends on the mood. Like I said, I am one of those people that wasn't. It was kind of like, I think Vinicius is never going to live up to the potential, live up to the hype, and I was wrong. But like I said, I don't like to slam players, and Karim Benzema is one of those guys, man, that I just can't ever. I just can't ever. He's such a phenomenal player, man. Like the things he does, and and then even there was even news, I think, today out of that was the other game. France versus Denmark also played today, which was a great game. And honestly, I thought Denmark was kind of my dark horse, but I think they're gonna have it very tough. I mean, they have to beat Tunisia, right? They're kind of my dark horse, but they have to beat Tunisia. They were tied again. They tied against, no, they tied against Tunisia, right? Was that who they tied against? Shit. I don't even remember. But anyway, I'm just trying to remember. I believe they tied against Tunisia, right? Yeah, they tied against Tunisia. They lost against France. And I think, so they have to play Australia now. So they definitely have to win that game against Australia. Australia played earlier today and won their game against Tunisia. So they're sitting on 3 points, and Denmark is sitting on 1 point. They need to win that game against Australia in order to have a chance of going through. I think at this point Tunisia is sitting only on 1 point as well, so they need to win, but they have a tough task because they're going to play France. So that's going to be really rough. And I think I really think that was my dark horse of the tournament. But essentially, after there was a lot of rumor. I saw some rumors on Twitter, and I think I can never believe these rumors because they're coming out from these French. Sometimes from this, they say because Twitter will say that it came from. They'll say it came from L'Equipe. It came from RMC Sport. And honestly, unless sometimes I don't even look to see if it really did. I mean, I just look and then I'm like, wow, is that really the headline? But apparently French players, according to I think it was L'Equipe, French players had said that they were feeling better now that Benzema was gone. And then Tchouaméni, which I think a lot of Real Madridistas obviously love Tchouaméni, had to come out and say that is not true. There is, we were fine when he was here. We're fine now that he's not here. Essentially saying, that is not true. He was not like some problem in the dressing room. But I think Madridistas have a tendency to crap, unfortunately, on a lot of our players. This whole Benzema thing where, once again, where they thought a lot of Madridistas were thinking he was milking the whole situation, milking the injury. And it turns out he really wasn't, he really was injured. He really was hurt. He tried his best to make it to the French national team. And that also did not work out for him. Like I said, he's back. Apparently he's back in Madrid, working his way back into getting in shape for what remains of the season. And hopefully, he will be in form because we definitely need him. And that is going to be something that, is going to be very important for us because we need him as, we are, 2 points behind Barcelona. I really think, towards the end of the beginning of this season, towards the end of the end of the winter break, or the end of the first part of the season, entering into the winter break, we started flailing. We started having some bad results, losing points. And that's why we're 2 points behind Barcelona. I don't think Barcelona can sustain what they have. I really think they're going to lose points at some point, but we have to make sure we don't lose points and that we gain. That we continue to that we continue to rack up wins. So we need Benzema back. We need him healthy. And who knows what's going to happen? I know a lot of people are wondering, do you want Cristiano back? I, for one, yes, I know he's older. I know that whole ship has sailed. But man, what a lovely, amazing story that would be, for him to finish his career at Real Madrid. I would love it. I would love it. It would be a fairy tale ending to what is a crazy, amazing career. Obviously, I think for many Madridistas, Cristiano can do no wrong, but it'll be tough to see. I don't think Florentino's gonna bring somebody like Cristiano back, not unless he cuts his wages and he's ready to play second fiddle to Benz. I just don't see how that's gonna work out, but. Like I said, I would love to see it. A lot of Madridistas say no. I mean, obviously they're thinking that that's not a possibility, and I think, yeah, that you're right. It's probably not going to happen, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, going into this World Cup, a lot of controversy, obviously. Right now, when we're in World Cup mode, a lot of controversy with this World Cup. A lot of politics and things like that. I'm not going to get into a political, discussion. I agree with some things. I agree with everybody's right to protest, essentially. I live here in the States. Everybody has a right to protest and say whatever they want and whatnot. Athletes included, whatever they want to say. If they want to say it and bring attention to it, I mean, that's their platform. Let them do it. I don't think it's ruining the game. I think people, yes, they're going to get offended by the fact that they're protesting, but that's what protests are. They bother some people, and other people are behind them. Other people like what they're saying. So whatever, just let them do it. And I'm going to leave it there because I'm not going to get into this whole thing, with the protests or whatnot, or the decisions to cover their mouths or wear the armbands or whatever it is that they want to do. That's up to them. So anyway, let's go into, kind of what's been going on essentially with this World Cup. So like I said earlier today, Lionel Messi, he won, he led Argentina to their win over Mexico. He scored a great outside shot. And then he got an assist, but I don't really think a lot of people call it's an assist. But I think Enzo Fernandez did everything in the box to score what was essentially a banger and put it up 2-0 against Mexico. Mexico did a good job during the game, but I also think it's just that Argentina isn't playing the best of games. So it's really interesting that's kind of, to me, it's interesting that's where, they're not, a lot of people have Argentina as a favorite. I don't know if they're a favorite. I really don't know if they are the team to beat. I really think that they have not played. They have not showed the quality that we're used to from them. I'm trying to make this thing a little bit larger. Here we go. So they have not showed the quality that they're used to. We're used to seeing from them, especially during Copa America. Even Copa America was a little bit of a lackluster Copa America, especially if you're from South America. You were watching, them. And, I don't really think that they were the best team. It was the best tournament to really showcase it. But they've been on this run. They've been on this run in South America, obviously playing against a lot of tough teams in South America. And they've been on this run and they've been doing well there. So, I mean, kudos to them for that. But, then they looked not good against Saudi Arabia. They didn't look good today against Mexico. Lionel Messi has to show up and score a goal, score a banger in order to put them, ahead. And then it was, I think there was, a lapse in judgment from the Mexican national team. Obviously Herrera doesn't close down Messi and leaves him wide open and essentially with not a lot of space, but with enough time for Messi. Really, all he needs is a split second. You just leave him outside at the top of the box, then he's gonna shoot on goal, and he's most likely, many of the times, he's gonna score. The thing is, you can see. I feel like now you can see with Messi is that he's not the. It's the same thing that's happening with Ronaldo. That some of the speed is gone that we were used to seeing. I think a lot of the magic, that magic dribbling that he could go through 4 or 5 players. We're not seeing that as much anymore. He has to really sit back and he really does have to work with his teammates in order to get where he wants to go and score goals. But you give him a chance, he's still going to be a deadly threat. And Mexico gave him a chance. We'll see what happens against Poland. Lewandowski got his goal, so we're going to see if that got his World Cup goal. Is that going to help Lewandowski get fired up and start banging in goals for the World Cup? Is that going to help him against Argentina? We'll have to see. That remains to be seen. A lot of things can still happen in this group. So, Messi and company can go in first, they can go in second, or they can go out completely, depending on, they depend on themselves, but it's going to be an interesting one. And so with that said, let's move on to, Ronaldo. I gotta love my boy Ronaldo. Of course, he is my favorite player. One of my favorite players. My favorite player, as many people that have listened to the podcast know, is Luka Modric. And but Ronaldo, seeing him, with everything that's been going on behind the scenes with Manchester United, his interview with Piers Morgan, all the stuff that's been going on, of course, with, the interview that he did and how he talked about Ten Hag and Manchester United, and now he's not at Manchester United. He's essentially a free agent. A lot of people are shitting on everything that this man does. He can never do anything right, I think, for a large portion of the fan base. Him getting a goal, whether or not you feel like it was a penalty, yes, it was a soft penalty. Sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. People like to, bitch and complain. I do it too. I think Messi's penalty that was given to him against Saudi Arabia, against Saudi Arabia was not, a good penalty. But sometimes, those soft penalties are given, and he's going to score what he's given, right? So he scored that, becomes the first player to score 5 goals in a World Cup, in 5 different World Cups. So that is another record for Cristiano. I think this is good for him also too. The morale of him coming into this game, he needed to score a goal, I think. But I think also one of the things I've seen from Cristiano, there's him scoring that penalty. One of the things I've seen from Cristiano that I've enjoyed, or that I do like, is I'm thinking he's starting to get more. He understood, I really do think, he has his arrogance about him, but that's part of the reason that some people gravitate towards him, some people like him. It's essentially that, you have to have that sort of arrogance to be, a champion the way, and be at the top of the game the way these guys are. Messi included, and Ronaldo included, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Mbappe, and, Karim Benzema, and all these guys have to have a little bit of arrogance where you think you're better than everybody else, because if not, I think you're not going to push yourself to really succeed, and you're not going to push yourself above and beyond your peers. So I think he's going to have that. But I think one of the things I saw, with the Manchester United issue, the interview, a lot of people talking about how he's making it about himself and not about the team. In some of his latest sort of latest interviews, it seems like, he's really, I feel like he has taken a step back a little bit more about saying, I don't care, especially with Piers Morgan. He said, I don't care if I score, the 3 goals to win the World Cup, as long as Portugal wins the World Cup, I would be happy. If I were to score the 3 goals in the World Cup, essentially in the final, which was one of the scenarios Piers Morgan had brought up, he actually said that he thinks he would retire. He would retire with that, having scored a hat trick in the final of the World Cup to win Portugal the final, win Portugal the title, would essentially, be all he needed to just kind of say, you know what, I'm done with football. And I think at that point he would have achieved everything you can possibly achieve in the sport. So yeah, kudos to him. I would agree. You would take a step back at that point. There's no way to go anywhere else. That's definitely retiring on a high note. But he seemed a little bit more like, even with the man of the match, which, people were up saying, he shouldn't have gotten that man of the match trophy. I do agree, yeah, I liked what he said. He essentially said it could have been for any of us on the playing field. I thought Bruno Fernandes had a pretty good game. João Felix, of course, scored a goal. João Felix, I think he's another guy that it's so crazy to see how, he's not really. He doesn't, we don't see the João Felix that was this, this wonder kid that was coming from Benfica, and a lot of people were interested in seeing, what he was going to do. He was sort of seen as almost like the heir to Ronaldo in Portugal, and then he goes to Atletico Madrid, which he's kind of sort of he's a substitute player now, and it's a system where it's not really his creativity that is not shining there. It's not, his play isn't shining there. Simeone's style of play, I don't think, is conducive to someone like João Felix. I even see, look at Griezmann, how Griezmann is playing now. I think the way he's looked against France, with France, as opposed to how he's kind of looked with Atletico Madrid in the past, few seasons. I really feel we're seeing a better version of some of these guys than the guys we see, than what we see under Simeone. The guy that I think I have to mention, and this is obviously, if we go back to the Messi game, to the game with Argentina, Rodrigo de Paul, man. Messi's bulldog or pit bull, or his personal bodyguard, or whatever people think he is. That guy, he was really good. I remember, he got a lot of shouts, and he got a lot of people interested in him when he was at Udinese, and he was doing a really good job at Udinese. But, obviously, you could say what you want about Serie A's level. I'm a big, Napoli fan and Serie A fan, and I love watching Italian football. But he has been absolutely terrible at Atletico Madrid, and he was the weakest link in today's game. He was the worst player on the field, I feel, for Argentina. So I really don't understand. I honestly really don't understand, how this guy, got so much love and got so much press. I really think he's not been living up to the hype that he did have when he was in his Serie A days. He was one of the worst players on the pitch. I remember the commentators in Spanish were actually saying, how long is it going to take for Scaloni to realize that this guy is not really doing anything for them? So they were talking about it the whole time. He was the worst guy on the pitch. Anyway, with that said, moving on to see how the rest of our Real Madrid guys are doing. Valverde, I think I think Uruguay hasn't really shown themselves at this World Cup yet. They didn't have the greatest qualifying campaign. They kind of came alive at the end in order to get into the World Cup. But definitely it's an aging squad, and the stars of Uruguay are going to be none other than Real Madrid's very own Federico Valverde, who had an excellent game. And that moment when he was yelling and screaming on the pitch because he made a tackle just shows us, for us Madridistas, we are aware of this energy. We know this energy that he has, this passion that he has for the game, this intensity that he has for any team that he plays for, and especially he is a Madridista. He plays with his heart all the time when he's at Madrid, and he does the same, evidently, with Uruguay. And with Uruguay, he looked, he almost scored another banger. He loves to shoot from outside of the box. He's been scoring goals for Real Madrid. I think he's up to 7 or 8 now with Real Madrid. He's been having a phenomenal season with Madrid, and I think, he will be one to watch, especially for Uruguay. But they're up next against Portugal. They couldn't get a win in their first game. They looked a little bit, sort of out of sort. I don't know. They just didn't look like a strong team there. So we'll have to see how they're going to do in that group. But we'll see against Portugal. I think that's going to be the litmus test for them, and see how they really do there. But really, really happy with what I'm seeing from a lot of our players from Real Madrid. Obviously, the guys that we love, which Ronaldo doesn't play for Real Madrid anymore, but he had a great game against Portugal. Valverde had a great game. Luka Modric has gotten a player of the match already still, but they only got they drew in their first game as well. Their second game is actually tomorrow, which is, from when I'm recording this, is on Saturday, November 26th. So we'll see how that one goes for them. And then, the next one, obviously, Courtois. Courtois had a huge save against Canada. Alphonse Davies, I don't know why, usually, I don't know. Usually it's, I thought it was, Jonathan David that takes the penalties for Canada, but Davies stepped up. I guess he's the star man, obviously, for Canada. He stepped up, and Courtois, once again, just, he has been absolutely excellent for Real Madrid since last season. This season, he's been doing a great job as well. And he's had his problems, his back issues, that had him out for a few games and have been an issue for him. But, great job for him stopping that penalty. Really, Canada, honestly, I think Canada is the best CONCACAF team, obviously. They qualified first in that in that division, so in CONCACAF. So, but they looked absolutely excellent against Belgium. I really thought they were the team that was going to be. I really thought they were played better than Belgium. They deserved to win, but this is not a game. This is not a game of deserving to win, which is why I hate when like Messi lovers, Messi FC, is always talking about the World Cup. Soccer or football owes Messi a World Cup. I mean, that's not how football works, and we saw it with Canada. Canada essentially played their hearts out. They looked phenomenal on the pitch. So many great players that Canada has. They're quick. They're strong. I think they're playing some nice football. And essentially, I think the only issue there is they don't have. Well, they do have Jonathan David, but they don't seem to have. They took a lot of shots on goal. Something like 23 shots, not on goal. Sorry, they took like 23 shots, but I think only about 3 of them were on goal. So they definitely have to fine tune their decision making in the final third and their shots and whatnot. But we'll see what happens because Belgium definitely did not look like the Belgium we've always seen, or the Belgium that everybody's wanted to see, especially with this golden generation that Belgium has had with Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, who you see there in that picture that I'm showing on the screen right now. Eden Hazard had a pretty good game actually, but he's just a shell of his former self, gets no playing time essentially at Real Madrid. Kevin De Bruyne, was pretty absent for most of the game against Canada. I think Lukaku is a missing piece for them, of course, which is why they played Batshuayi. But they have so many quality players, man, and in every part of the pitch, Trossard, Munier, obviously their back line, which is Alderweireld and Vertonghen were a big names in defenders for quite some time in the Premier League, and they've moved on, but they have such quality players, and you're just wondering how they just don't come up with better football and why they just look so. But honestly, I think it could be because Canada played out of their skin, so it could have definitely been that Canada was causing them some real problems, So you can't say that it was only the fact. It wasn't that only that Belgium was playing bad. It was also that Canada was playing really, really well. And so, yeah, Courtois comes up with a big save there. Good to see Eden Hazard getting minutes and playing. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see much more of him at Real Madrid, during this season. And then with other guys, obviously Vinicius, the star. Still, I think he's this Brazil team. This is what I wanted to say. When I was thinking about doing this stream, is this Brazil team. Honestly, I think they're the team to beat. I was writing it on Twitter. I think they're the team that is going to be the team to beat in the World Cup. They look absolutely ruthless. And the thing is, they have such a lineup, an attacking lineup, even defensively. Because defensively, Militao didn't play. Militao didn't play. You're going with your center backs that are kind of older, especially Thiago Silva. You have Marquinhos there. you're playing with, you have a lot of you have a lot of players on the bench like Guimaraes, and you have who else was on the bench? You have like Fabinho. You have all these guys that are on the bench. Anthony came off the bench. Martinelli came off the bench. Rodrigo came off the bench. I mean, you have essentially a star-studded starting 11 that would probably start in any other team in the tournament or any other team that you put them on. And they're your backup. They're essentially on the bench. So your starting 11, you have two starting 11s, two absolutely incredible lineups that you can field at any time. And I think, because Serbia, to me, and Serbia is not like it was one of my dark horses, but I really like a lot of the Serbian players. Sergej Milinković-Savić, Blahović, Dusan Tadić, all those guys are really solid players. I think their defense, I think his name is Milinković too, or Malinković. He did a great job. I mean, they didn't get more than 2 goals essentially because Serbia was also playing well defensively. And Serbia seems like a solid team, and they were doing really well at keeping Brazil at bay for quite some time before it just, like I said, it was just absolutely ruthless. Like Vinicius going down that left-hand side with Neymar, the 1-2s with Neymar, setting up those passes in order to get them into the box. And that's what we saw. That's how we saw the first Richarlison goal. It was essentially that Neymar dribbles his way into the box, and, it looks like he wanted to take a shot, or the ball goes a little bit long, so Vinicius steps in, takes a crack at goal. Milinković-Savić, which is also the name of the goalie, stops the ball, or deflects the ball, which is right into the path of Richarlison. That's your 1-0. And then again, Vinicius comes out, once again down that left flank, does a Trivela pass to the middle, and Richarlison scores, the goal of the tournament with a bicycle kick or scissor kick or whatever you want to call it. I think really essentially he tried to stop the ball and get into position, and it bounced up and it set itself up perfectly for him. But, that takes a lot of talent. So scores the goal of the tournament there, and I really think that this Brazil team is the team to beat. And that's even playing, I think, starting with guys like Paquetá, who I don't think is like, is the best guy that you could have started. I think Guimaraes is a different player that you can put there. There's a lot of different players that you, like I said, Militao, you didn't even start him there. You started he started Alexandro, and was it Danilo? Two of your, Danilo isn't the best fullback. He played for Real Madrid at one time too, but I don't think he's the best fullback there. Long gone are the days, of course, of Marcelo and Dani Alves, which, Dani Alves did get called up, and he's 38 or something like that. He's still, those guys can still ball. They're just not fast anymore, and they can't track back. And that's what you need in the modern game. But, long gone are those days. So I think that's their only weakness, really. I think the only weakness that I kind of see from Brazil is the fullbacks. And even then, Alexandro took a cracking shot at goal. It would have been a screamer. It hit the post. So there's just so much talent on this team, and I really think they're the team to beat alongside France. I think those are the two teams that have shown a lot. And then I don't have a picture here to put up for what is essentially for Spain, which was the other big team there. But I think really Spain was the other team that showed up and did an incredible job. I absolutely despise Gavi. So, and I think yes, he's doing well. He's 18 years old. This is the first player since Pelé to score. The youngest player to score since Pelé, I guess. But at the end of the day, I feel like they played Costa Rica. Costa Rica is not the biggest test for them. They're going to play tomorrow against Germany, so that'll be the biggest test for them. You're going to see how Gavi is going to, play against the likes of Goretzka or Kimmich. Well, Goretzka, he hasn't been good, hasn't been playing well. But Kimmich, in their midfield there. And we're going to see, and I would love to see Musiala continue to ball out. Musiala was my pick for Golden Boy. Essentially, Camavinga got shouts because of what he did and how, he was playing on that Real Madrid team that essentially got won the Champions League and won La Liga. But I can see why, for me, I think Bellingham and Musiala deserved it more than Gavi when on a team that they said, that didn't win anything, Barcelona. So I think there's a lot of hoopla behind him. There's a lot of hype behind it. I'm still not on the hype train. Sure, he's great. He played a great game against Costa Rica. I'm still not sold on him, but part of it is because my bias. Obviously, I don't like Barcelona. I like Gavi even less. Pedri, I do think, is an absolute baller. He did try out for Real Madrid, and for whatever reason, because he said he was too cold or whatever it was, whatever the rumor is, and they didn't pick him. But another thing is too, Asensio is starting to look like the Asensio of old, and maybe it's because he's feeling like his time at Real Madrid could potentially be coming to an end, so he's fighting for his spot, which is, I think, what we needed as Madridistas needed. They needed something to light the fire under Asensio. And the thing is with Asensio, I think it's also with a lot of Madridistas, is we don't know what to think about Asensio because he'll have absolutely incredible games, score a hat trick, do some incredible things, and then, score some bangers with that left foot of his, and then he'll disappear for 3 or 4 games, So then, Ancelotti benches him, and then, he doesn't play for a few. He gets angry. He starts having tantrums on the bench, looks like he's, pouting on the bench. And then Ancelotti will play him, and then he'll try to say, okay, I belong here. He'll score another banger. And, he gets called up again, and everyone's like, this is Asensio. He's back, the same Asensio of old. And once again, it doesn't happen, so we have to see what's going to happen with Asensio. But I think really, really he's doing a good job now. And oh my God, I think I lost my camera here. I don't know why that happened, but so I'm going to continue talking while I fix here the issue with my camera. Yeah, there we go. I don't know what happened. Like timed out or something. There we go. So yeah, that's really like I said, Asensio, we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen with him. Will he still be with this team? That remains to be seen. And that's it. I think, honestly, I think that's gonna be my podcast for right now. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on with Real Madrid at the moment because we're in the middle of the World Cup. But thank you once again. Thank you for watching. I think there's one person watching, and that I don't know if that's me, or if that's somebody else. So essentially, thank you for the one person that's watching my stream. We'll continue to grow this thing, but this is going to go up on YouTube, and it's also going to go up on Twitch. And for all of you there, also thank you for, like I said, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Y NM podcast. This will go on the podcast channel. My camera is going to shut off again due to high temperature, so sorry about that. But with that said, guys, thank you for listening to the Y NM podcast. Thank you for watching this live stream, and I will talk to you again soon.